Africa is not a concept. Africa is a glimpse into the infinite. Those are the words of Kenyan poet Ali Mazrui as we commemorate Africa Day today. Mangwana ni Mwalelepo Vukenjani Kekpas. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. How are you, Glenora?
I'm doing very well.
Happy Africa Day.
Thank you, thank you.
I love the head wrap.
Thank you.
Yes.
I tried to do more. I
Yes.
wanted to wear like a hero dress, but I felt it would be too much.
There's no such thing as too much.
No, just to get dressed in it. It
Yes.
takes like 6 hours.
Oh, okay, no, that's fair. No, you'd have had to start at midnight.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. But you look
right.
very well.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And yes, we are absolutely commemorating Africa Day, which was founded by the Organization of African Unity, which was created in 1963, formerly known as African Freedom Day and then African Liberation Day. Its origin lies in the collective African resistance to colonialism and economic exploitation. The day was and is intended to highlight Africa's continued collective struggle against diversity.
In today's broadcast, Congo files new complaint to ICC against Rwanda's military and M23 rebels. A day without press in Guinea as the media snubs ruling junta. Namibia declares outbreak of Crimean-Congo fever after patient dies. We'll also be crossing over to Talengore in Zimbabwe, who will be giving us the latest news on the ground there. Do stay tuned for Africa Good Morning.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
All right, let's get straight into our top stories. The Democratic Republic of Congo made another formal referral to the International Criminal Court to ensure the court will focus on what it calls the systematic pillaging of its natural resources in eastern Congo by the Rwanda Defense Forces and the M23 rebel group. The ICC already has an ongoing investigation into eastern Congo since 2004, and it is not clear if the new referral would shift the court's focus. The referral's goal would be to investigate and prosecute any person involved in human rights violations between 2022 and 2023, it added. The Tutsi-led M23 rebel group launched a fresh offensive in eastern Congo in March last year, seizing towns and villages in the area that borders with Uganda. The fighting forced more than 1 million people to flee. Congo has accused neighboring Rwanda of backing the M23. The government of Rwanda has denied any involvement. The ICC Office of the Prosecutor has given no details other than that the focus is on alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity committed since July 2002 in the Ituri region and the North and South Kivu provinces.
A day without press in Guinea as the media snubs ruling junta. Several private media and online outlets in Guinea launched a one-day boycott of news in protest at press and internet restrictions by the authorities. The protest was announced on Monday after the ruling military shut down two radio stations owned by the Afric Vision Group, limited access to popular websites and social media, and threatened to close any media that undermines national unity. Now, from 5 a.m. until now, when I'm talking with you, there is no radio being broadcast, at least in FM band, and therefore TV is 100% down except RTG National Television. The government has denied any crackdown against Afric Vision or blocking of the internet. Civilians are now calling upon the government to respect freedom of the press as enshrined in the Constitution.
Now, Namibia has declared an outbreak of the Crimean-Congo hemorrhagic fever after one person died of the disease in Windhoek, the government said on Tuesday. The patient was suspected of having the virus when he was first treated at a clinic in the eastern city of Hobabis on May 16th. He was later transferred to Windhoek Central Hospital, where he died on May the 18th. The health ministry said in the statement, laboratory results confirmed he had CCHF, which is a tick-borne virus that can also transmit between humans by close contact with blood or bodily fluids. It has a fatality rate of between 10 and 40%, the World Health Organization said. Now, the government has activated health emergency committees to prevent further transmission and is closely monitoring all contacts of the deceased in Kobabis and Windhoek, it said.
UK royal family won't return remains of Ethiopian prince. The campaign to return Alemayehu began in earnest in 2006 when the Ethiopian president wrote to Queen Elizabeth II asking for the remains to be exhumed, but the request was rebuffed. Buckingham Palace on Tuesday said it has declined a request from the family of a 19th century Ethiopian prince to repatriate his remains. Prince Alemayehu was captured aged 7 by the British Army and taken to England in 1868, arriving as an orphan after his mother died en route. He spent the next decade in Britain and was looked upon kindly by Queen Victoria, who arranged for his education before his death, aged 18, in 1879 from pneumonia. At the reported request of Queen Victoria, he was entombed in the catacombs of St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, the royal residence west of London. Now, Ethiopian leaders have previously asked the British royal family for his remains to be returned to his homeland, and his family told the BBC recently that they too had requested the repatriation. "We want his remains back as a family and as Ethiopians because that is not the country he was born in," Fasil Minas, one of his descendants, told the British broadcaster. He said it was not right for the prince to remain buried in the UK. But in a statement, Buckingham Palace said it regretted that due to the need to preserve the dignity of others buried at the chapel, it had not been possible to agree to the request.
Now, Angolan billionaire Isabel dos Santos, daughter of the country's former president, faces being dragged into a $400 million London lawsuit brought by Angolan telecoms operator Unitel. Now, Unitel sued dos Santos' Dutch company Unitel International Holdings in 2020 over loans that were provided to fund UIH's acquisition of shares in telecoms companies. The loans were not repaid, and around 395 million plus interest remains outstanding. Unitel's lawyers told London's High Court on Tuesday. Unitel is applying to personally add dos Santos, Africa's first female billionaire, whose father, Jose Eduardo dos Santos, ruled Angola for 38 years until 2017, to its case against UIH. That brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. Now, imagine being a sports reporter that has to work 7 days a week. These are some of the challenges being faced by Zimbabwe's local newspapers, and Talent Gore will be telling us more about that as we talk to her after the break.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
Now, Zimbabwe's biggest newspaper company, Zim Papers, is declaring incapacitation. Talent, could you please get into that for us? And good morning. Happy Africa Day. Okay, we can't seem to hear Talent clearly right there. We'll go for a short break and we'll swing back and see if we can connect to Talent Gore in Zimbabwe.
To another exciting episode of Irongo Talk. Hier is die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis heel moontlik gaan byt.
Good evening and welcome to Sunset News.
Dutchman stays in his speech, rate in Texas, and how much.
After the break, we take a look at the sports.
we bring you
economic indicators, tomorrow's weather and sports. I am Aina Raiza Kweyong.
All right, it seems we're going to try and check if Talent Gore is still there with us and able to talk to us right now. Talent?
Hi, Ashwin, if I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can indeed. Please continue with your first story.
So journalists and other staffers from Zimbabwe's biggest newspaper company, Zim Papers, have declared incantation following cutting off allowances and further curtailment of other privileges in response to a financial strain that has hit the country's biggest newspaper empire. Apparently, some of the journalists, especially in Bulawayo, are working 7 days a week, and they have had their data reduced up to 75% at a time when the company is saying that we should go digital, and now they have cut the data for their people. Also, allowances and other privileges have been cut down, and the journalists are saying that they can't work in such conditions and they have declared incapacitation.
All right, now moving on to your next story. CCC party blasts President Mnangagwa over irrational release of rapists from prison. Can you expand on this story?
Yes, so last week Friday, about 4,270 inmates were released from prison by President Emmerson Mnangagwa on amnesty. So apparently among those were rapists who had served only a year of their sentences, and opposition party Citizens Coalition for Change have said that this was irrational of President Emmerson Mnangagwa to release those rapists, given that the communities that they are going to, they had not told the rape victims that the rapists are coming back, and some of these rapists, they have not yet been rehabilitated properly. So they're saying that it was irrational for the president to release rapists on amnesty. They're also saying that those rapists, they should go back to prison. Apparently, there are videos that are circulating in Zimbabwe whereby you find that a 60-year-old male who raped a 9-year-old was released on amnesty after serving only a year or even 2 years of their sentences. So Citizens Coalition for Change and even the citizens are saying that this is not right and something should be done.
Truly alarming indeed. Now, ZEC's voter registration inspections begin on Saturday. Of course, this is ahead of the anticipated elections.
Yes, as you all know, Zimbabwe is heading towards the general elections, and they are going to be held in August. Apparently, the actual dates haven't been released as yet by the president, but the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission will on Saturday open the voters' roll to be used in this year's harmonized election for inspection in an exercise that will run for 5 days. The exercise will run from 27 May to the 31st of May. Apparently, the public was now demanding that ZEC release the voters' registration so that they go and check if their names do appear on the voters' roll, and their wish has been granted, and the voters' roll inspection will begin from Saturday up until the 31st of May.
And we certainly hope they will indeed be harmonized. Thank you very much, Talent Gore, for bringing us the news stories from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
Always good to have you on Africa Good Morning. Now let's have a look at the weather predictions on Africa Day.
You're still watching Africa Good Morning. With 7 years to go before Vision 2030, this is what Dr. Sam Nyoma recently had to say about the project. Let's take a look at part 1 of 2.
Your Excellency, Dr. Sam Nyoma, we are nearing Vision 2030, which you launched back in 2004. Is this dream still valid, and is it achievable in the next remaining 7 years?
Indeed, in June 2004, in my capacity as the head of state, I launched Namibia Vision 2030 and emphasized the need to be clear about where we are, where we wanted to go, and over what time frame. The vision is based on careful analysis and reviews of Namibia's past and the current experience in development, given its natural, material, and financial resources and each cultural, regional, and international context. The progress and the result we have achieved are grounded in our planning and implementation efforts through successive national development plans. These are products of intensive countrywide consultations and all informed by recommendation for the higher level panel on the Namibia economy, the African Union Agenda 2063 of the Africa. We wanted the United Nations Sustainable Goals, and more importantly, the contribution by citizens from the length and breadth of our country. Thus, this vision is still valid and achievable in the remaining 7 years if we work hard and remain united as I believe that a people united striving to achieve a common good for all members of the society will always emerge victorious.
All right, so we see the economic news banner over there, but we're not going to get into economic news right now. We will, however, give you some of the highlights from our economic news stories. 2 international firms have exited from Kenya's big oil project, which is British exploration firm Tullow Oil, which has assumed full ownership of Kenyan oil project after its joint venture partners Canada's Africa Oil Corp and France's Total Energies pulled out. And also, Botswana imports bulls and heifers from the US for insemination program. Those have been our 2 economic headlines as we dive straight into the sports news.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraika. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with cricket news first. It's the IPL, the Indian Premier League, and it was qualifier 1 that was done. It's the first two teams on the points lock that played the first qualifier. The winner goes straight into the final, and the winner of that game is the Chennai Super Kings. They beat the Gujarat Titans by 15 runs, so the Chennai Super Kings will be in the final of the IPL this year. There's a second qualifier taking place. That is the teams that ended 3rd and 4th. That's the Lucknow Super Giants that will play against the Mumbai Indians. The winner of that game will play against the Gujarat Titans. They have another go at a final place, and the winner of that game will play against the Chennai Super Kings in the final of the IPL 2023. What happened in the first qualifier was that Chennai Super Kings scored 172 for the loss of 7 runs, and then the Gujarat Titans replied with 157 all out. Continuing international sports news with cycling news, it's the Giro d'Italia that continues. It's been many stages. It was stage 16 that is done. They're going all the way to stage 21 that will finish over the weekend. What happened in stage 16, it was a significant stage, lots of climbs, more than 200 kilometers in total distance, and it was the 3 best riders, the leaders, that was also the leading cyclist when they came into the finish line on stage 16 finish. In the sprint, it was João Almeida that won. He's from Portugal. He won a sprint against Gareth Thomas of Great Britain, and in third position in stage 16, Primož Roglič. He was 25 seconds behind the first 2. Significant though is that Gareth Thomas now is the general classifications leader again. He's leading against João Almeida of Portugal with 18 seconds, and it is Primož Roglič that's further down. He is 29 seconds in third position. The total combined time at this moment for the general classifications is Gareth Thomas with 67 hours, 32 minutes and 35 seconds. And it will be stage 17. That is more of a descent. It will not be as many hills. It will be definitely a stage for the sprinters. It's going to be 197 kilometers. That is stage 17. Now we continue with Formula One racing news with the Monaco Grand Prix this coming weekend, and it is Honda that announced that they will return to Formula One in a formal capacity as from 2026. At the moment, they do supply the engines for the Red Bull cars, the Red Bull Honda team driven by Max Verstappen, and but it was already in 2021 that they decided that they will not be officially involved, and it is good news because from 2026 they will supply the engine for Aston Martin. So that's big news coming in. At the moment, it is Aston Martin that have mostly Mercedes-Benz power units. So as from 2026, Aston Martin will be powered by the Honda engine. Currently, it is Fernando Alonso that's doing well for Aston Martin. They have a great season. He's third on the official points list at the moment, and he will be one of the favorites also at Monaco over the weekend. Qualifying will be very important for the Monaco Grand Prix, very tough to overtake in Monaco in the street circuit, and the qualifying will be on Saturday. The big favorite obviously will be the Red Bull Hondas again. It's Max Verstappen that will be the racer to beat on Sunday. Closing off today's international sports news with golf news, and it is the US Open will be the next major on the men's calendar. That will be the 15th to the 18th of June. That will be in Los Angeles in the United States of America. News coming in from United States or from the US Open is that Tiger Woods, the 15-time major winner, announced that he would not be able to play in this year's Open. He had a fusion surgery on his ankle quite recently. That was from a car crash that he had last year. So at the Masters this year, he battled to walk and he needed another surgery. So he won't be able to play in the Open. Good news though for Sergio Garcia. He is currently playing on the Live Golf Breakaway League, and he wasn't invited to play at the US Open, but he went to the qualifying, and it was 120 players that played for 8 positions in the US Open, and Sergio Garcia was one of them. He finished in the top 8, and he will indeed this year tee off at the US Open starting on the 15th of June in Los Angeles. That's the international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk again tomorrow. Goodbye.
All right, that brings us to the end of our show. Let's have a look at the highlights from this morning's broadcast. Congo files a new complaint to ICC against Rwanda's military and M23 rebels. A day without press in Guinea as the media snubs ruling junta. Namibia declares outbreak of Crimean-Congo fever after patient dies. 2 international firms exit from Kenya's oil project.
Don't forget you can catch Africa Good Morning tomorrow, same time, same place. From me, Glenn Rashipura.
And me, Ashwin Berry. Happy Africa Day.